The crimson signal, the emergency beacon cut through the peaceful morning session of the Galactic Alliance Council, like a blade through silk. Council Speaker Vorth, a tall being with crystalline features from the mineral world of Korath, immediately called for silence as the crimson warning lights bathed the Great Assembly Hall in urgent red. Representatives from 47 different worlds had been discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges just moments before. Now they sat in stunned silence as the emergency communication system crackled to life with a transmission that would change everything. "This is Ambassador Kirix of the Zephyrian colony on Arcadia Prime," came a voice, strained with desperation and barely holding back panic. "We are under attack by unknown forces. Our peaceful settlement is being destroyed. We have no military, no weapons, no way to defend ourselves. Please, anyone who can hear this transmission, we need immediate assistance." The voice paused, and, in the background, the assembled council members could hear the distant sound of explosions and the heartbreaking cries of civilians. When Kirix spoke again, his voice cracked with emotion. "They came from the void between systems 3 days ago, 15 ships of unknown design. They ignored all our attempts at communication, all our offers of negotiation. They simply began bombing our cities from orbit. We are a colony of scientists, farmers, and artists. We have children here, families who have never known violence. We have managed to evacuate most of our people to underground shelters. But we cannot hold out much longer." Another explosion echoed through the transmission, closer this time. The sound made several council members flinch in their seats. "Our crystal gardens are burning. The power systems that have sustained our world for 2 centuries are failing. If there is anyone out there who can help us, please respond. We do not have much time left." The transmission ended with static, leaving the great hall in heavy silence. Speaker Vorth looked around at the diverse assembly of beings, each representing worlds that had known peace for generations under the Alliance's protection. The Galactic Alliance had been built on principles of cooperation, diplomacy, and mutual aid. They were prepared to handle trade disputes, natural disasters, and even the occasional piracy incident. They were not prepared for this. Council Member Thys from the aquatic world of Nerion raised a webbed hand. "Speaker Vorth, what do we know about these attackers?" Vorth activated the central display, showing a star map with Arcadia Prime highlighted, in pulsing red. "Our long-range sensors detected the attacking fleet 48 hours ago. Ship designs are unknown to our databases. They use kinetic bombardment weapons rather than energy-based systems. Most concerning, they have shown no interest in communication or negotiation." "What about our peacekeeping forces?" asked Representative Glix from the forest world of Verdania, her green-tinted skin pale with worry. "Our nearest military assets are in the Outer Rim dealing with the mining disputes on Helios 7, Vorth replied grimly. "Even at maximum speed, they are 6 days away from Arcadia Prime." The mathematics of the situation hit the council like a physical blow. 6 days was far too long. The Zephyrian colony would be extinct long before help could arrive through conventional means. Council member Zarn from the desert world of Arrakis stood up, his reptilian features showing the stress they all felt. "What about mercenaries? Private, military contractors?" "The reputable ones are already contracted elsewhere," Vorth answered. "The others would likely cause more harm than the raiders themselves." The hall erupted in worried conversations as representatives tried to find solutions that did not exist. Some suggested attempting to negotiate with the attackers. Others proposed offering ransom payments. A few recommended simply evacuating whoever they could save and writing off the colony as a loss. Then a quiet voice cut through the chaos. "What about the Terrans?" The hall fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Council Member Drift, a young representative from the trading hub of Commerce Station Beta. Drift was new to the council, having joined only 6 months ago, and many of the older members still viewed him as inexperienced. But his suggestion sent a ripple of unease through the assembly. "The humans?" Speaker Vorth repeated as if he had misheard. "Drift, you cannot be serious." "Why not?" Drift pressed forward, his voice gaining confidence. "They have fast ships, trained military personnel, and experience with hostile situations. More importantly, they could reach Arcadia Prime in less than 24 hours. Representative Thies made a sound of distress that translated poorly through the universal communicators. They are Deathworlders, Drift. They come from a planet that actively tries to kill everything living on it. They are too dangerous, too unpredictable. Dangerous to whom? Drift countered. To raiders who attack peaceful farming colonies? That sounds exactly like what we need. The argument that followed was intense but brief. Half the council feared that involving humans would make the situation worse. The other half recognized that humans might be the only species capable of responding quickly enough to matter. Council member Lyrix from the scholarly world of academia raised her hand for attention. Her people were known throughout the galaxy for their careful study of other species and cultures. I have researched human military history, she said carefully. While it is true they come from a harsh world, they have shown remarkable restraint when dealing with civilian populations. Their military doctrine emphasizes protection of non-combatants. Their military doctrine also emphasizes total destruction of enemy forces, Thies replied sharply. Have you seen the reports from the pirate wars? Entire fleets simply disappeared when they encountered human vessels. Fleets that were preying on civilian shipping, Lyrix pointed out. The humans discriminate between threats and innocence. That is precisely what we need in this situation. Speaker Vorth raised his hand for silence. The debate could continue for hours, but time was something the Zephyrian colony did not have. Sometimes leadership meant making difficult decisions with incomplete information. Computer. Establish a communication link with the human embassy on Station Prometheus. The main display flickered, and then showed the face of a human woman with graying hair and tired but alert eyes. She wore a simple uniform with minimal decorations, but her bearing suggested significant experience and authority. This is Ambassador Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, she said in accented but clear galactic standard. How may I assist the Council today, Speaker Vorth? Vorth took a deep breath before explaining the situation. He provided all available intelligence about the attacking fleet, the status of the Zephyrian colony, and the Alliance's inability to respond in time through conventional forces. Ambassador Chen listened without interruption, her expression growing more serious as the details unfolded. When Vorth finished, she was quiet for several long moments. Ambassador, Speaker Vorth said carefully, the Council has not yet voted on whether to formally request human assistance. We wanted to determine if such assistance would even be possible before. Speaker Vorth, Ambassador Chen interrupted gently. While you debate the politics, people are dying. We do not need a formal request or a contract. We need coordinates and permission to help. The directness of the response caught many Council members off guard. Most galactic species approached such matters through layers of negotiation, cost-benefit analysis, and diplomatic protocol. Humans, apparently, had a different approach. What would you need from us? Vorth asked. Current intelligence on the attacking fleet, communication frequencies for the colony, and assurance that our methods will not be questioned afterward, Ambassador Chen replied. We will handle this our way, which may not match Alliance protocols, for conflict resolution. The ominous tone of that last statement sent a chill through the assembly. Everyone had heard stories about human military tactics, though few had witnessed them firsthand. When could your forces reach Arcadia Prime? Vorth inquired. Ambassador Chen glanced at something off-screen before responding. Captain Vasquez and the USS Phoenix are currently on patrol in the neutral zone. They can be at Arcadia Prime in 18 hours. 18 hours? Representative Glick sputtered. That is impossible. It takes 3 standard days to reach that system. Ambassador. Chen smiled grimly. Representative Glix, you have never seen a human ship when lives are at stake. Before anyone could respond further, the emergency system activated again. Another transmission from Arcadia Prime was coming through, weaker than the first. This is Ambassador Kirix again, came the voice, now barely audible over static and the sound of destruction. If anyone received our first message, please know that we have perhaps 12 hours before our shelters are breached. The attackers are using mining equipment to dig through our defenses. We can hear them getting closer. Please, if anyone is out there, we are running out of time." The transmission cut to silence once more. Speaker Vorth looked around the council chamber at representatives who had spent their entire careers managing peaceful disputes and trade negotiations. None of them had experience with this kind of crisis. But there was one species in the galaxy that specialized in impossible situations and desperate odds. "Ambassador Chen," he said formally, "the Galactic Alliance Council requests immediate humanitarian assistance from the Terran Federation." "Understood, Speaker Vorth. The Phoenix is already changing course. Captain Vasquez will contact you directly once she reaches the system." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in contemplative silence. They had just called upon the galaxy's most feared species to save one of its most peaceful. Whether that would prove to be salvation or catastrophe remained to be seen. But for the first time since the crisis began, Speaker Vorth felt something he had not dared to feel before: hope. The Deathworld response captain, Elena Vasquez, stood on the bridge of the USS Phoenix, watching the stars blur past as her ship pushed through hyperspace at speeds that would have been considered reckless by most galactic standards. The emergency message from the Galactic Alliance Council had reached them 37 minutes ago, and Elena had immediately ordered a course change that would bring them to Arcadia Prime in record time. Elena was not a tall woman, but she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had survived Earth's military academies and 20 years of deep space operations. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her brown eyes held the sharp focus of a predator evaluating threats. She had been born in the ruins of old Buenos Aires, where children learned to be resourceful or did not survive to adulthood. "Status. Report," she called out to her bridge crew. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen looked up from the tactical station, his fingers dancing across holographic displays as he analyzed the intelligence data from the council. Marcus had grown up in the underwater cities of New Singapore, where the constant threat of pressure hull failures had taught him to think 3 steps ahead of disaster. "Captain, I have completed analysis of the attacking fleet. 15 vessels, of unknown configuration, but their tactics suggest they are raiders rather than military. They are using kinetic bombardment weapons and appear to be focused on resource extraction, rather than complete planetary destruction." Translation: "They want something specific from that world," Elena said grimly. "What about the colony itself?" Dr. Sarah Okafor spoke from the science station, her accent carrying the rhythms of her native Lagos. Sarah had earned 3 degrees in xenobiology before joining the Phoenix crew, and her expertise in alien physiology had saved countless lives during their previous missions. "The Zephyrians are a peaceful herbivorous species, Captain. They have never developed military technology because their homeworld had no large predators. They are physically fragile compared to humans, with hollow bones similar to Earthbirds. Their colony on Arcadia Prime was established to grow rare crystal formations that they use for both art and advanced technology. So our raiders are after the crystals," Elena concluded, "and they are willing to commit genocide to get them." The bridge fell silent for a moment as the crew processed this information. Pirates and raiders were one thing, but species that would exterminate an entire colony for profit represented something far more dangerous. "Captain," came a voice from the engineering station. Chief Engineer Rodriguez had been monitoring the conversation while performing routine maintenance on the Phoenix's experimental drive systems. Torres was a compact man with scarred hands and grease-stained coveralls, but he could make miracles happen with whatever spare parts were available. He had learned his skills in the orbital shipyards above Mexico City, where safety regulations were suggestions rather than requirements. "What is it, Torres?" "I have been analyzing our approach options. If we drop out of hyperspace at the edge of the system and approach conventionally, the raiders will have hours to prepare for us. But if we risk a close proximity hyperspace exit..." Elena nodded, understanding immediately. "We could appear directly in the combat zone with no warning." "Yes, Captain, but the stress on our hull and drive systems would be enormous. We would have perhaps 30 minutes of combat capability before critical systems started failing. 30 minutes is longer than most battles last, Elena replied. Do it. The ship's communication system activated, and the voice of communications. Specialist Kim Park filled the bridge. Park was young, barely 25, but her linguistic abilities had made her invaluable for first contact situations. She had grown up in the Korean coastal cities where multiple languages and cultures had blended together in the aftermath of the Great Rising. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the colony. It is very weak. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was barely audible over static and interference, but the desperation was unmistakable. This is Ambassador Kirix of Arcadia Prime. If anyone is receiving this transmission, please know that we have perhaps 10 hours remaining before our shelters are breached. The attackers are using industrial mining equipment to break through our underground defenses. We can hear them getting closer. Elena grabbed the communication microphone. Ambassador Kirix, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terran vessel Phoenix. We are en route to your position and will arrive in approximately 16 hours. Can you hold that long? The pause that followed seemed to last forever. Then Kirix's voice returned, filled with disbelief and desperate hope. Did you say Terran vessel? Captain, we have over 30,000 civilians in these shelters. Half of them are children. The attackers have shown no mercy to anyone they have encountered. Ambassador, we are going to get your people out of there. I need you to maintain communication if possible, and keep me informed of any changes in the situation. Captain Vasquez, there are 15 ships in the attacking fleet. How many vessels are in your task force? Elena looked around her bridge at the 43 crew members who made up the Phoenix's complete complement. By any reasonable military standard, they were outnumbered at least 300 to 1. But Elena had learned long ago that humans did not fight by reasonable standards. Just us, Ambassador, but we will be enough. After the transmission ended, Elena turned to address her crew. They were already moving with the efficient precision that made human military units famous throughout the galaxy. Every person on the bridge knew their job and trusted their shipmates to do theirs. All hands, this is the captain. We have received a humanitarian crisis mission from the Galactic Alliance Council. The Zephyrian colony on Arcadia Prime is under attack by raiders. Civilian casualties are expected to be high, and we are the only ship in position to provide assistance. She paused, looking at each of her officers in turn. These men and women had volunteered for deep space service, knowing that it meant facing impossible odds in situations where backup was days or weeks away. The attacking force consists of 15 vessels against our single ship. Some of you might consider this a suicide mission. However, I prefer to think of it as a target-rich environment. The bridge crew chuckled at Elena's dark humor, but their expressions remained focused and determined. This was why they had joined the Terran Deep Space Fleet, to be the ones who showed up when no one else could. Department heads, prepare your teams. We go to battle stations in 12 hours. As the crew dispersed to their duties, Elena remained on the bridge studying the tactical data. 15 ships was indeed overwhelming odds, but the Phoenix had advantages that the raiders would not expect. Human ships were designed by a species that had learned to fight for survival on a world where everything was actively trying to kill them. Marcus Chen approached her with additional analysis. Captain, I have been studying the raider formations and tactics. They are used to overwhelming civilian targets with superior firepower. They have never faced military opposition, let alone human military opposition. What are you thinking, Marcus? They will expect us to engage them in a traditional fleet action. Long-range weapons exchange, gradual attrition, eventual victory to whoever has more ships. Elena smiled grimly. But we are not going to give them a traditional fleet action. No, Captain. We are going to give them something they have never seen before. Humans who are very upset about civilians being murdered. Dr. Okafor joined the conversation, her tablet displaying detailed information about Zephyrian biology and culture. Captain, I have been researching the species we are trying to save. They are remarkable people. Their entire civilization is built around artistic expression and scientific discovery. They have never experienced warfare because they evolved on a world without natural predators. Which means they have no idea how to protect themselves, Elena said. Exactly. But it also means they have developed technologies that military species never considered. Their crystal cultivation techniques could revolutionize power generation throughout the galaxy. Their art forms incorporate mathematical principles that our scientists are still trying to understand. Elena nodded. The galaxy was full of species that had followed different evolutionary paths. Some, like humans, had been forged by harsh environments and constant threats. Others, like the Zephyrians, had been blessed with peaceful worlds that allowed them to develop in other directions. Both types of civilization were valuable, and both deserved protection. Torres, how are our weapon systems? The chief engineer's voice came through the communication system from the depths of the ship's mechanical sections. All systems are operating at peak efficiency, Captain. I have also taken the liberty of preparing some special modifications that I think our raider friends will find educational. What kind of modifications? Let us just say that human engineering incorporates certain design philosophies that other species find unsporting. We will demonstrate the difference between equipment built for war and equipment built for profit. Elena allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Phoenix was not the largest ship in space, nor the most heavily armed, but it carried something that the raiders had never encountered. Humans who had decided that protecting innocent people was more important than following conventional military doctrine. All stations, final systems check. We drop out of hyperspace in 14 hours. As the stars continued to blur past, Elena thought about the 30,000 Zephyrian civilians hiding in underground shelters, listening to the sound of mining equipment getting closer. They were counting on a species they had never met, trusting in the reputation of the galaxy's most feared warriors. Elena intended to make sure that trust was not misplaced. The raiders had chosen to prey upon the innocent, and now they were about to learn why that was considered a very poor decision when humans were involved. The Phoenix raced through hyperspace toward a confrontation that would demonstrate once again why Earth's Deathworld children had become the galaxy's most reliable protectors.